Welcome to step 2 of the SAP process. It is during this step that the team has the opportunity to discuss Universal Design for Learning and the guidelines. So listen up and let's see what the team has to say.
Okay, in this next phase, we're going to start out by taking a look at the UDL guidelines. So Mo has brought up for us the most recent CAST guidelines, which, since you guys originally did some training with us, have changed. We've kind of flipped the order, and we'll talk a little bit about that later, but also made this a really nice, accessible digital format. So we're going to look at this today. One of the reasons we do this is because at the same time that we're working specifically on a plan for John, this allows us to get a little bit more hands-on experience with working within some of these guidelines. We want to get to that point eventually that by just doing the majority of these things really well, we'll meet most students' needs without having to go to individual plans for students. But we're not there yet. So we're going to kind of do something today where we're going to look through these and given what you know about John, I'd like us just to pick 3 things to focus on. We could probably focus on more than that, but let's just identify maybe the top 3 things that if we were to try to do some of these things classroom-wide, might have a significant impact for John, as well as other students in the classroom. So just take a minute to look through there. We'll give you a couple minutes to kind of look through and remind yourself of what's here. And then go ahead and shout out any that you think are particularly calling out John's name in terms of things that would support him.
Mm-hmm. You know, right off the bat, I think engagement is not an area of concern for him. I think what I've heard, he's really actively engaged, he's wanting to learn. So I think engagement is not an area that we need to address. I agree with that.
I think so.
And you know, I'm looking at this and I really think that the area of representation, we need to look at that because of his reading difficulties. And particularly, I think we need to consider the guideline provide options for language, mathematical expression, and symbols. Specifically, the support decoding of text. And you know, I was just really thinking about this, and I think that I need to work on building some of these skills in for him and really the whole class, but especially like highlighting the main idea or keywords. I think that would be a great strategy for him, so we need to work on that as well.
Excellent. So everyone agrees that that will be one of the guidelines we'll focus on, and we'll talk in a little bit after we've kind of honed this down on what our action plan is around that. Is there a second one that pops out to anybody?
I'd agree with Colleen in the area of representation, and then further down into perception. We've really been focusing on my class, and I've been really trying to provide them with the materials in the digital form for all the students since we've been doing UDL, with PowerPoint and handouts and study guides just for all students to have those in a digital format. And I think for John, that'll really make a difference, especially when it comes to the read aloud part that he can have and have that grade level content read to him rather than him having to read it. So if we can provide options for perception and then with that offer ways of customizing the display of information through that part of UDL.
Great, it's a great idea.
Mm-hmm. Sometimes I give him lengthy directions or word problems, and he really struggles with that. And recently I gave him an article with a lot of technical words in it, and he just really struggled with that.
So the other one I thought we might want to take a look at is the action and expression. You know, he still has such challenges with writing. And again, as he is going through this high school, his assignments are getting longer. He has multiple pages to write. So that's a real struggle for him.
I mean, I think it would be great if we could really expand the types of options that we give students for more involved projects. I know we've worked with some students in the past and giving them options, alternative options to complete their assignments. I think that if we could make these options available for all students in the class, then John wouldn't stand out if he's doing something different.
That's true.
Good point. You know, that's a really great area for you to focus on in grade level teams or content teams, or if you have PLC teams, just in terms of what you're doing for all students to give them variety in how they can do written work and express themselves beyond just pencil or pen to paper. What kinds of variability you can give students in those kinds of assignments might be something you really, really want to focus on as a group moving on. So that's probably enough for us to tackle in terms of UDL guidelines. One of the things that I want you to think about next is we could end our process here today and just focus on those 3 guidelines moving forward. My question for you as a team is, do you think that's enough for John right now? If we were to just address and move forward with a plan to do more around the areas of UDL, would that be enough, or do we need to talk more specifically about some specific tools and strategies that would support him individually? So what are your thoughts around that?
So I think, we've come up with some really great ideas, but I think John really has some very specific areas of need, and I really think that it would probably be beneficial for the whole team to really isolate out some supports just for him.
I agree. I mean, John's had years of specialized instruction, so I feel like it's time to get down to the things that will enable him to move forward to reaching his goals.
All right, so we will move forward.